I would first like to thank the ASB for inviting me to speak today. Martin Luther King Jr. Day means many things to different people. It's a time to reflect on an extraordinary man who lost his life trying to better the lives of millions of people. Unfortunately, we're still fighting that fight today. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is also a time to reflect on the courage and accomplishments of people refusing to give up, refusing to let obstacles stand in their way, and overcoming adversity. Today, I would like to tell you a true story about just that. Now, first of all, please forgive me if I get emotional already. I'll do my very best. I thought I'd at least get through a couple pages. All right, here we go. A baby was born in Mason City, South Korea in May 1985. He was left on the doorsteps of a local hospital with only a note. The note stated that his name is Hyun Jae-sung and that his mother, being 15, was not able to care for him. The baby was taken in by the hospital and was diagnosed with an infection in his hip. Had his mother not taken him in, who knows what the outcome would have been. After spending time at the hospital and clearing the infection, he was sent to an orphanage for adoption. At 6 months, he was adopted by an American family. This family lived in a rural southern Washington town. They had a son aged 13 and had already adopted a girl from Korea aged 3. He completed their family. He was like any other baby. He had a wonderful smile and loved to play. As he grew into a toddler, however, he had some difficulties walking. His parents worked with him vigorously and oftentimes would take him and his walker to the high school gym and let him run around in it. There is no doubt this helped him gain strength and confidence to walk on his own. A couple years later, doctors realized that one leg was shorter than the other. It was eventually determined that the infection that he had as a baby had eaten away most of the bone of the ball and socket of the upper femur. This caused his leg to be shorter instead of the growth of the leg. Surgical options were not great at that time, but a doctor from Russia had come up with a new surgery that would lengthen his leg and was willing to come to America to perform it. It was a gruesome surgery with rods that went through his leg sticking out both sides. The doctor broke his femur and pulled it apart ever so slightly. The bone would attempt to grow back together and they would spread the bone farther apart. Every day, his father would take a wrench and turn the rods to spread the bone apart a little bit more. Eventually, they were able to lengthen the leg an extra inch than his healthy leg, in hopes that once he finished growing, they would be even. As he grew into a young boy, other issues started to come forward. He had a difficult time reading and writing. His parents worked with him every day and eventually took him to a specialist. His parents were told that certain parts of his brain didn't work correctly and he would never be able to read or write. As you can imagine, this was a devastating response. His parents refused to accept this and worked with him every day, and though it was slow going, they saw progress. As we all know, middle school can be a difficult time for many kids. For this boy, it was no different. 1, he was Korean. He didn't look like the other kids. 2, he had difficulty in school and received special education services. He was sometimes teased for both. Thirdly, and possibly most difficult for him, was his limp. This boy's older brother and sister were very successful basketball players at his school, and his father was the varsity girls basketball coach. He wanted to be just like them. He turned out for middle school basketball. Coaches would often tell him he didn't have to run as much as the other players, or that he could rest whenever he needed. He refused. He just wanted to be like everyone else. In fact, he worked harder than everybody else. His first 2 years of high school were a little different academically. With constant help from his parents and special services from the school, he became an avid reader. Now don't forget, he was told he would never be able to read. Writing was difficult for him and his penmanship was rough. He was given a laptop computer to type on. This was a game changer for him. He became a very fluent writer and storyteller. Again, I remind you, he was told he would never be able to read or write. Athletically, however, things got worse. His hip became very painful. As before, his coaches insisted he ran less. He refused. He ran. guys are used to be laughing and talking jokes, not being serious. I'm there. He ran every line. It got so bad that when he would come home from practice and he was physically unable to walk down the stairs to his bedroom. Man, come on, get together. Imagine a 15-year-old boy having to have his father carry him to his bedroom to go to bed, and yet he's still practicing and playing every day. Didn't think it was going to be this bad. Like he wanted to be like everybody else. Finally, it came time to make a decision. He needed a hip replacement. The surgery meant he could never play again. He made the decision and had the surgery. His last 2 years of high school, he really started to excel in the classroom. He found modifications that helped him succeed. He worked extremely hard in school and took pride in his grades. English and social studies became his favorite. Math became more difficult with the introduction of variables and algebra, but he worked hard at it. Playing basketball was obviously no longer an option. However, the coaches asked him to be an assistant coach. He found his place. He loved being part of the team in any way possible. He went to every practice, every game, and was proud of his team. In 2003, he graduated salutatorian of his class. Yes, the second highest GPA of his senior class. This wasn't because he was smarter than the other kids. It was because he worked harder and had tremendous support. He self-advocated and was determined to be his best. Now, I purposely left out parts of this story, and I could talk about this boy for hours. The most important part I left out was this boy at an early age was diagnosed with autism. Now, autism is a big spectrum. We have many students here in our school that are on the autistic spectrum. Some of these students you might have realized, and others you wouldn't even know. This boy, however, you would probably realize, but most would consider him functioning. I consider him an inspiration. Some of you may have guessed already, this boy is my brother, Drew Smith. That's not a good picture. Now, some of you know Coach Drew. He's been my assistant basketball coach at Morgan Middle School for the last 14 years. Many of you have played for him. Many of you might recognize him from the Asian guy that walks all over town. If you come to any home EHS basketball game, you'll see him sitting right up there in the bleachers, rooting on the team. He's an avid Bulldog supporter. Drew now lives on his own. He has many people supporting him, most especially our parents who moved to Ellensburg 4 years ago. Drew can't drive, but like I mentioned earlier, walks about everywhere. He advocates for himself when he needs a ride. He's worked part-time at Gerald's. He worked part-time at Shirtworks. Both places were wonderful to him. Drew has an infectious smile and a hilarious sense of humor. He is one of the most giving people I know. I have to remind him a lot that he doesn't need to constantly buy gifts for people, but it's his way of showing appreciation, love, and respect. So why am I telling you his story today? Drew's story could have been so different. Anywhere along the line of his life, he could have given up. His parents could have as well, but that's not how his story went. To me, Drew is the ultimate success story. No, he doesn't make lots of money. He doesn't play professional sports. He doesn't drive the nicest car. He doesn't even drive. Instead, he lives in a little apartment on his own in Ellensburg. He works part-time. He's a volunteer middle school basketball coach. What is so successful about that? It's perseverance, making the most of your situation, helping others do the same, living life to your potential. Drew often asks, what is his purpose in life? He struggles with the answer. I don't. It is to inspire. If Drew can get up every day and make a difference, why can't we? I've heard my brother be called a retard, stupid, slow, etc. I've seen firsthand the looks he gets for looking different. I've witnessed things in my life similar to this with other people, and it's ugly. No better words for it. Those things could have ruined Drew, but for every time something bad happened, there were so many more people supporting him, telling him he could do anything, believing he could do anything. But most importantly, he showed he can do anything. Today is a celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I challenge all of you to be more like Drew. Set high goals, strive for your potential, believe in yourself, believe in others, help others reach their potential. Persevere through the tough times, never give up, and most importantly, be nice to each other. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, straight, gay, male or female. Respect each other, love each other, and be nice to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate your time, your words, and your willingness to share. Let's give him another round of applause.